Товарищи солдаты и матросы,
comrades, soldiers, and
сержанты и
sailors,
старшины,
sergeants,
мичманы и
and
прапорщики, товарищи офицеры,
non-commissioned officers,
генералы и адмиралы,
officers, generals, and
поздравляю вас
admirals.
с Днем Великой
I
Победы,
congratulate you on the great victory
защита
day.
Родины, когда решалась
The
ее судьба,
defense of the
всегда были
motherland,
священны.
when its fate was decided, have always been
Подлинного
sacred. These
патриотизма
feelings of true
поднимались за
patriotism
отечество ополченцы Минина и
led
Пожарского, шли в
the
атаку на
servicemen of
Бородинском
Minin
поле,
and Pozharsky
бились с врагом
on
под
the
Москвой и
battlefield near
Ленинградом,
Moscow and
Киевом и
Leningrad,
Минском,
battling the enemy
Сталинградом и
near
Курском,
Kiev, Minsk,
Севастополем
Stalingrad,
и Харьковом.
Kursk, Kharkov,
Так и сейчас.
and Sevastopol.
В
And
эти
today,
вы
in these
сражаетесь
days,
за наших людей на
you
Донбассе,
are fighting
за
for our people in
безопасность
Donbass, for the
нашей
security
Родины,
of our
России.
motherland, Russia.
9 мая
The 9th of May 1945 has forever been written into world history as the triumph of our united Soviet people, its unity and its spiritual power, its exemplary conduct on the battlefield and in the rear. This is so dear to all our citizens. There isn't a family that hasn't been burned in Russia by the Great Patriotic War, and this memory lives forever. Today, the endless column of the immortal regiment of the grandchildren and children of those who have remained forever young and the veterans who have left us. We are proud of the undefeated spirit of the victors and the fact that we are their heirs, and it is our duty to preserve the memory of those who defeated Nazism, who bequeathed to us to be watchful and to make sure that the global war is not repeated again. And despite all the differences in international relations, Russia has always stood in favor of indivisible security, creating a system of such security that is so necessary for the world community. Last December, we proposed a treaty on the guarantees of security. Russia called on the West for an honest dialogue, reasonable compromise solutions in the interests of each other. But that was in vain. The NATO countries did not want to hear us. And that means that, in fact, they had very different plans. And we could see that. They openly were preparing for yet another punitive operation in Donbass for an invasion of our historic lands, including Crimea. In Kiev, they were talking about the possible acquisition of nuclear weapons. The NATO bloc started actively developing territories adjacent to us. And therefore, in a planned way, we're creating an absolutely unacceptable threat immediately next to our borders. Everything pointed to a collision with the Nazis and Banderites that was inevitable and that was supported by the West. We could see how military infrastructure was being developed, how hundreds of foreign advisors were at work, regular supplies of the most modern weapons from NATO. Danger was increasing every day. Russia repelled this aggression in a preventive way. This was the only correct decision, and it was a timely decision. The decision of a sovereign, independent, and powerful nation. The United States, especially after the fall of the Soviet Union, started speaking about their exclusivity, their exclusive status, humiliating not only the whole world but its own satellites, who have to pretend they can't notice and swallow it up, lap it up. But we are a different country. Russia has a different character. We shall never give up our love for our motherland, our faith and our traditional values, the customs of our forebears, and respect for all nations and cultures. In the West, these thousands-old values have been cancelled, This moral degradation is at the basis of the cynical falsification of the history of World War II, rampant Russophobia, praising traitors, and mockery of the memory of victims and those who built victory. We know that the American veterans who wanted to attend the parade in Moscow were banned from doing so. But I want them to know we are proud of your achievements, of your exploits, and your contribution to our common victory. We honor all members of the Allied armies, Americans, British, the courageous members of resistance, and Chinese soldiers, all who contributed to the defeat of Nazism and imperialism. Today, the soldiers of Donbass and together with Russian soldiers, are fighting in the battlefield where the servicemen of Suvorov and Brusilov and Sviatoslav and the many heroes of the Russian country. I address the servicemen of Donbass. You are fighting for the motherland, for its future, so that lessons of the World War II are not forgotten, so that there is no place in history for the punitive divisions of Nazis. We bow our heads to all those who lost their lives in the Second World War, before the memory of the sons and daughters and fathers and mothers, grandparents, wives, husbands, brothers, sisters, friends and families. We bow our heads to the memory of the martyrs of Odessa who were burnt alive in 1914, before the memory of the old people of Donbass and children who died at the barbaric strikes of the neo-Nazi. We bow our heads before the memory of our comrades at arms who died in the battle in a fair, in a just struggle for Russia. A minute of silence. Comrades, the death of each soldier and officer is a tragedy for all of us and is a loss for their loved and families. The state enterprises and the non-governmental organizations will do everything to surround these families with care, to help them, and we shall give special support to the children of our dead comrades. There is a presidential decree about that, and it has been signed. I wish speedy recovery to those wounded, and I thank the doctors, nurses, and medical personnel in field hospitals for their selfless work. I bow my head to you for saving every life, for struggling for every life, quite often under the fire in the battlefield, without thinking of yourself. Dear comrades, here and now, in the Red Square, shoulder to shoulder, are soldiers and officers from many regions of our enormous country, including those who have come straight from Donbass, immediately from the zone of, from the theater of war. We remember how our enemies tried to use international terrorism against us and sow religious hatred to split us from within, to weaken us. They were not successful. Today, our soldiers of various ethnic origin and nationality are standing shoulder to shoulder and covering for each other against the shelling. And this is the undefeatable strength of our united nation. Today, you are defending that which the fathers and grandfathers were fighting for. For them, the greatest sense of life was the security of their motherland, and for us, their heirs, loyalty to the motherland is the main value and the reliable foundation of Russia's indivisibility. Those who defeated the Nazis showed us an example of heroism for all eternity. This was a generation of victors, and we shall always look up to them. Glory to our great armed forces, for Russia, for victory. Hurrah!